talking about the fact that, you know, there's a multiplicity of issues here, and I think that's what's been said over and over again. Now, we may be going round in circles here, but the buck stops with the Ministry of Education. You just said that the ministry takes the flak. Right, so now we're going into 2014. It's a new year. There's still a lack of conviction from members of the public that the ministry is perhaps not even taking the matter as seriously, or steps that need to be taken aren't being put in place. So what gives? What happens now?
Janet, the ministry is invested. Actually, the government has invested a lot in education and continues to do so, both through the free primary education grants to schools, as well as infrastructure development in schools. The government is doing all it can to make sure that the necessary facilities are available in school for learning purposes to take place.
I'm just going to stop you there. I believe we have a phone call from Eldoret. Bernice from Eldoret. Doris from Eldoret, sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Janet. I'm a teacher. And there is this gentleman, okay, I didn't get his name quite well, talking on behalf of the quality assurance and standards officers. I want to say that, you see, when these officers come and keep the teachers on toes, they'll actually give the report of what is happening on the... And it's true that they have really taken time in some schools conducting these assessments. So at least they should give their report of what is actually happening. It doesn't mean that surely the teacher has to be followed in class, but she'll know there's somebody somewhere, and there's a report to be given at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, it is these officers who will give the final report or any recommendations for that matter. Therefore, they should also be accountable and give their report.
Okay.
Yes, not the NAT. NAT are there, they are our lawyers, and they'll be defending us. We love these children and we are ready to work. We need to be motivated to be actually upgraded, those of us who need this upgrading, and we shall work. It's not that maybe we are greedy or something.
Okay.
We just need this government to look at teachers.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that, Doris. Doris calling us from Eldoret. Again, going back to the policing aspect and saying that NATA, pretty much the lawyers and are defending them. Government needs to look at the needs of the teachers, which takes us back to the support. Are teachers being supported as much? Perhaps you can chip in at this point before the ministry comes in.
Yes. The call has even given us a very good highlight about what we expect. Teachers are willing and ready to work. Our motto is service and justice. We serve. We are committed to serve. We expect justice at the end of it. Justice not, of course, for teachers alone, justice for the child and the general public. Now, when you look at the element about what could be part and parcel of the problem, everything actually rests on government. Let government own up and employ more teachers. Let government own up and employ more quality assurance and standards officers. Let government own up and provide more materials. And let us have those teachers motivated. Like now the issue we are discussing, if a teacher is fighting to be promoted because he has gotten masters and is being treated still as a P1, and has climbed all the way, has finished first degree, he's gotten masters, and still being paid a P1 salary, and then you are saying, go and perform. What motivation are you giving him? And that one teacher can actually be an example of very many other teachers in that staff room. They all get demotivated, demoralized, and partially this is causing it.
Okay.
So we are talking about the greatest problem that we have here in this country. If we compare it with the other countries within the same region, the greatest problem we have is understaffing. In spite of that, teachers are putting in a lot of effort. When you take our child from Kenya, say to Uganda or to Tanzania, I come from around the border, majority of our teachers would rather have, majority of the parents would have their children learning in Uganda than in Kenya.
Okay.
And when they go there, they perform much better than the Ugandan children. Because our teachers are putting a lot of effort at the formative stage, but they are not being recognized, they are not being motivated, they are not being encouraged. There is nothing. All we are doing is just teachers are doing bad, teachers are doing this, teachers are demanding this, teachers are demanding this. Surely it comes to a time when somebody has to own up. And for 10 years and over, KNUT has been fighting. And it is, I'm now happy. It is now a concern for the country.
Yeah.
And those that have brought this to the table, I believe government is listening. Maybe from tomorrow,
Okay.
they'll have an announcement that they're going to employ teachers.
Before I let the ministry respond, Evangelist Otieno is on the line from, I'm sorry, say that again. I'm listening to my director from Uguda. Okay. Evangelist Otieno, if you could please ask your question.
Yes, from Uguda.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, please. I request because now our heart is deeper to see how the students are struggling now. The people going to from Standard 1 up to Standard 8. And now what I heard about the teachers. If the government cannot promote the head teachers, for about a week, they're going to be on the road. My question is, what can government look the teachers? Because everybody in the parliament come on the hands of the teachers. Even myself, I'm a preacher now. Through the Anglican Church of Kenya. I come on the hand of the teacher. I request the government can see the teachers that they are very important people with a good salary and give them chance to teach the children without going on the road, please.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Evangelist Otieno. And I guess that goes back to, are we looking after our teachers? That looks like a majority of people saying we're not looking after our teachers.
We may be losing the core issues here, because when we talk about whether government is looking after our teachers or not, it may not answer the question of why the learning outcomes are not satisfactory at some level. Because the teacher who's producing good results is paid the same salary as the teacher who is not performing accordingly. So at that point, you cannot say that maybe the failure for government to pay more money or the failure by government to promote this teacher is what has led to this teacher not to perform. Because then you'll be saying the teacher is protesting in a slow manner by not teaching so that the government can increase the salary and then the teacher performs. But equally, on the other side, there is a teacher who's delivering results with even the meager salary that they may say they are getting. But I want to point this, that when you talk about learning outcomes, learning achievement in class, it's not just a one-person issue. It's not one-person solution. We are discussing and looking at what the teachers can do in school, peer teaching, coming together as a staff and discussing what kind of learning achievement they are getting and how they can go ahead and improve the performance in that school.
All right.
It's not about salary. Salary is a factor to some extent, but it's not the only issue. And we lose focus if we just focus on salary. I asked my friend from KNUT, how much would be enough for a teacher? And we agreed it can never be enough. Even if they were given so much, it can never be enough for what they do in class.
All right. Before I bring in the governor and Sarah to respond as well, Abubakar from Garissa is on the line. Go ahead, Abubakar.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. Please go ahead with your question.
I'm very happy for these events that you made. And according to the chairman from that member from KNUT, it is true that the teachers are really suffering, and we have realized and we have done a research that the best teachers in East Africa are coming from Kenya. 2 days ago, the governor was trying to threaten the teachers of the county, that is the Garissa County. And I am a parent. I have 6 children in 5 public schools. They are doing well. I'm looking at their books. I'm looking at their homeworks. They're actually doing very well. I cannot see that the reason why the government should blame the teachers. Because what I'm realizing is the governor is trying to finish the appetite of the teachers. You know, once the teachers demoralize, they're happy to teach the students. We parents of Garissa County, we are very happy with our teachers. And therefore the governor should keep off from our teachers. Let him not interfere with our teachers. Because we are the parents who know the teachers what they are doing in their county.
Okay, Abubakar. All right, Abubakar. A disgruntled parent from Garissa, their governor, saying they're very happy with their teachers. Is there a disconnect? Is something amiss, or is he just on one side of the coin?
Well, I mean, I don't know which side he belongs to, but if he was a parent, and 83% of the parents in Garissa tonight are crying, and the students, 83%. And even the 17 that have been said have passed, actually, I can tell you 9% are basically on the verge of just having passed. They don't even get, they even risk not to get any secondary education, given the competition in the country. So really, we are talking about only 8 or 9% of passes. So I don't know really which parent is happy in that kind of situation, or even teacher for that matter. But let me say this, Janet. I think that's a bit of a diversion. I want to say this, and I want to agree actually with Mogaka, that it's not just a question of salary. We are trivializing the issue here. He has clearly said there are teachers who are equally being paid as much as those disgruntled teachers are being paid. And they're performing. And they're performing very well. The issue here is a question of discipline of the teachers. I've already called for a major forum, a stakeholders forum in Garissa, and we are getting a lot of information. And it has been rightly been said that actually at any one time, out of 100 teachers, about 13 are not attending the classes. There are a host of issues that we are seeing coming from the teachers and being the real reason for these mediocre performances. What we want is a holistic view of this matter. And let me say this, that as county governments, as county governors, I want all the stakeholders to know that it's not going to be business as usual. We are there on the ground. We want to support this sector. Actually, we cannot support education. Or if we cannot see education as success, then we don't need to be there even as governors. Okay, Governor, so let me just stop you right there. There's another last call, I believe, Hussein from Isiolo. Hussein, please go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm glad I wish to contribute to this discussion.
Could you speak a little louder, please, Hussein?
Please, I would like to contribute a bit to this going on discussion.
Okay.
I could see the Kinat and the officer from the ministry arguing, and what we know is that the ministry has also its own problem. Teachers has already been said there are a lot of shortages in the school. And one thing is this policy which was introduced earlier that all the teachers should go back to their area that is being localized.
Could you repeat that, Hussein? All the teachers should do what?
The previous policy where teachers were localized to return back to their areas where they are actually born, where they came from.
Okay.
I think this policy is supposed to be changed and transfers should be done as it should be done. Teachers should go and teach anywhere in the country, so that I think teachers could teach better. You know, when teachers are all brought back to one place, the administrators, mostly the DO's office, are all local. Okay, the teachers are local.
Okay.
The issue of supervision becomes too weak. You know, people fear one another, or because one knows the other one comes from there, the other one comes from there. If the other one would like to supervise the other one fears the other one because he's going to be victimized. I think these things which are being localized should be, I think, changed completely.
All right, thank you for that, Hussein. All right, that's Hussein from Isiolo. You want to say something?
Yes. Governor mentioned something about discipline of the teachers. I appreciate the ministries here, but I also appreciate that TSC is an independent commission. How I would wish the TSC to have been also part of this discussion. Because when you're talking about transfer of teachers, like the caller is talking about, when you're talking about discipline of teachers you're talking about, you're talking about teacher management as a whole, it's a TSC function. What the governor, my friend, the governor, the other governors need to know is they have a lot of stake in education in their counties and the country as a whole. But what you are saying is they should find a mechanism of engaging the employer so that what you are seeing people demonstrating against a governor does not come out. It should be the employer now engaging directly with the employees, and that's when KNUT will come in. We shall not be engaging the governor, the employer, in between the employer and the employees as a union now. And then the governor will have channeled his opinions and concerns and so on rightfully through the right channel, the TSC. But when you have a situation where you are going to have governors confronting teachers on the ground, and teachers are saying, no, we are under TSC, we are independent, KNUT will come and defend the teacher and say, yeah, it's true, we are under TSC, we are not under governors.
So
there'll be bad blood and there'll be big quarrel.
Okay. Sarah, very quickly, let me bring you in. Comparison across the different countries in East Africa, where does Kenya fall?
Kenya is often ranked first, then depending on which level you're looking at, Tanzania, then Uganda. However, the last district, because we also do ranking of the districts, since all the three countries have districts, the last district, number 360 something in East Africa, is from Kenya, which also shows there's a very big equity gap. But if you allow me to come back to the discussion at hand, I've been listening to it, and I feel that this discussion and the discourse, again, is missing out on the real problem. We are still so much focused on the inputs, the learning inputs, talking about the teachers' salaries, books, infrastructure, etc. Those are important, but those will not ensure that children are getting the skills and competencies that they need. So I think as a nation, and as all the key actors who are seated over here, we have to consciously move the discussion towards learning outcomes, towards what we want to see out of our children. It is true the teacher is a very important key actor in that, as is the parent, etc. But when we just focus on teacher, 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 and you're not looking at learning, what will make this teacher to produce the curriculum results that are needed, then we are losing out on the discussion. And we need to move towards this discourse of looking at how is it we can ensure that children after 8 years or after 12 years of schooling have something that will allow them to meet the Vision 2030 that we are talking about. And it's a responsibility of everybody to get to the dreams we have as a nation, which we can, but we have to consciously, I think, take charge of our responsibilities.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to take a short break, but we have a few more minutes before we officially wind up. Very quickly, your last thoughts. This is certainly a discussion that needs to be exhausted, and like you said, going back to the root problem, I feel like we've just scratched the surface. If I can start with you, please, and let's just give a final word. We've been told to wrap up. We've run out of time, unfortunately. Where do you think this discussion needs to go? What do you think needs to happen starting now?
One, let's have government take that responsibility. Let us avoid even waste of time by provoking teachers to go on strike and waste a whole month. And when the results come out, we are saying the results were as good as those of last year, or not as bad as those of last year, and yet teachers were out on strike. Like we are justifying that in spite of the teachers being on strike, the results are still as good. There's no change. Let's have government take responsibility, like we said in the beginning. Let's have teachers correctly and procedurally addressed, and let's have government do their bit about production of reports that teachers will utilize and consume well through quality and standard service. We appreciate the private sector. They are a major stakeholder in this. But really, we are not going to discipline a teacher based on a report given by UWESO, for example. The laws are there. We are a law-abiding country. The laws are there. You must respect the laws. And you put laws saying that the teacher will be disciplined. There are procedures for disciplining a teacher. So even just talking about teachers publicly, that they are not doing well, it's a demoralizing factor to all the teachers in this country.
Okay. Your last thoughts.
Mine is that, the question of saying education is not devolved and therefore belongs to the national government, and that teachers do not report to governors or report to TSC, I think it's not really the way forward. What we need to do is for teachers to know that There are now county governments in place. We are major stakeholders. The parents, the children being taught in the county, and we need to see value for what's happening. Let me say in passing that we will support education. If you ask me, for instance, we will now put a huge amount of money into education, even though it's not a devolved function, but all the way from ECD to the last class in primary, we're going to put a lot of money. We will create scholarship funds. We will create money for even training teachers.
Okay.
So what we want is full working together with the government entities in the counties.
To achieve a better education.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Janet. I think what we need to agree that is it's a constitutional right for the child to get quality education. And all players, all stakeholders in the education sector need to come together and work on improving the outcomes, learning outcomes. Posturing will not help. And the media needs to contribute towards keeping this discussion alive so that we come with solutions to the table, workable solutions, things that have been proved to work. If it's working in school A and they are delivering results, it can be tried in school B or school C. There shouldn't be a situation whereby a child in a public school cannot perform equally as another child in a different public school, just basically because we are not willing to try out solutions. Those solutions are there. The solutions are with us as a community, with us as a society, and as stakeholders. And I would wish to come together with concerted effort towards seeing that the child gets quality education.
All right, thank you for that. Sarah, your last thoughts?
Yeah, maybe I'll talk in my capacity as a researcher and say that in any country you go to, you will see that they have made strides because they invest in getting evidence and they listen to the evidence. And the evidence has been quite damning over the years. Just as at the same time we have evidence, as Mogaka has said, of schools that are making it work despite the adverse situations they are in. And in terms of positive thinking and looking for the solutions, I think this is what we need to be looking at. A poet from Chile once said that the future of the child is now. And it's worthwhile to remember that. And the future of many of our children is happening in the classrooms now. And we need to start investing more time in the classroom, looking at what is happening, the what is the curriculum, and looking at the how, the pedagogy. And if we start with the simple things, we should be able to do this. Because after all, the school system at the moment, unfortunately, is serving, if you take like a funnel, it is serving the few elite at the top. What about this mass over here? Somebody needs to think about their plight, and it is possible to do that.
All right. Thank you all so much for contributing to this discussion. And like I said, it's just the beginning. We need to seek solutions. And like you said, Mogaka, if it's working in one place, it should work at another. So thank you all as well for your feedback on Monday Special and for watching. I'm Janet Mbogwa. Have a good night.